Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Chiefs Digest Live Q&A here on Tuesday night, as always. I know there's a lot going on in Chiefs land this week and tonight, so I appreciate anybody who has the time to join us, either whether you're joining us live or whether you watch and listen on YouTube later or any of the other ways on Facebook and X as well and Twitter. So truly appreciate you as always. I know I had two comments that, of course, I had to get to immediately because, of course, one, always, hooray, hooray, it is Q&A day from Luttrell. I hope everyone has a great night. Yes, the boys are back in town. Chiefs are back at the facility today, first day of phase 3, first day of OTAs. So 3 days of practice this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday is the day that media will be out there. We will have media availability. Still don't know for sure who we'll hear from, but typically that would be an Andy Reid day, a Patrick Mahomes day, since Patrick is there, and usually a couple of other big names, somebody from the defense, and we'll see who that all may be. We'll be catching up with some of the newcomers usually during this time period. Some of the new players to the team, maybe we haven't either just talked with or have only met with via Zoom. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's any number of the free agents that we get through. We will see what we get to with Trey Smith if he is there. I know I did not see him. I don't believe in any of the videos today, and I have not heard confirmation about whether Trey came in today. Again, it's voluntary, so don't freak out if any of your favorite players is there, anybody that you're concerned about isn't there. I will probably let most of you just dictate the conversation. I don't know if there's a whole lot of opening comments that I have tonight. Just kind of run through the schedule. Nikki, I'm noting 100 days until the Chiefs season begins. You know, that one slipped by me, Nikki. Thanks for bringing that up and mentioning that and dropping that in there. So since there's no player 100, I'm assuming that tomorrow will begin all of the various social media tweets content around where 99 days and you get to have your favorite player who wears 99 for the Chiefs. You long-timers will know exactly what I am doing right now. So now you can even notice what I just did, and it just occurred to me. Also have to get to Brian. Brian's always good. Make sure I remind everybody to hit that like button. Truly appreciate it. Just gonna get straight into it. And I think the first one I saw, Dog, with the first one, not really a question, but a comment, but I kind of wanted to, since it dealt with Trey Smith, get into it. If there's trouble with Trey Smith getting a deal, do you think we could, and just because it is a question, even though there wasn't a question mark, so you're lucky I saw it, Dog. With Trey Smith getting a deal, do you think the Chiefs could trade him before the season for a second-round pick, assuming that you could get a third or a fourth-round comp pick if you let him walk? I mean, that's certainly a scenario. Now, that hasn't come up with anybody that I've talked to dealing with Trey Smith. I don't get the sense that anybody believes that's still a scenario. So could it happen? Absolutely. I mean, if you're the Chiefs and things get truly sideways with Trey, you absolutely could discuss trading him. And I think, absolutely would get better than the third or a fourth round pick. You know, that I think you would probably get a third. Now, the problem with, going into, comp picks and everything is that they can be offset by, additions that you make. So planning to get a third back doesn't always come true if, you sign some free agency yourself and bring people in. I mean, you only really gain from that by making sure that you don't sign anybody of significance that's going to cancel out Trey Smith. I've not had any inkling whatsoever that things are that south, anything that's going on with Trey Smith. And I go back to what I did say, from the very beginning, a lot of this, I've been hearing, even going back to March, the word I was told was spring. Was when they expected to get something done with Trey Smith after the draft and sometime in spring. Well, we still have almost 4 weeks of spring left. So I'm not too concerned about it. Yes, it's certainly a backup scenario that if you can't get a deal done with Trey Smith, then yeah, I mean, trading him is the next best thing. Now, this is not normally the best time to trade a player. The players have their usual best trade availability before the draft. That's before teams. I mean, they've the teams have done some more deals. They've taken up a little bit more cap room. They've addressed needs in the draft, so they don't have the same needs that they had before. So, the pool of teams that would be interested in Trey Smith, that would need a Trey Smith, would be a little bit smaller than it would have been a month ago. So it's a little diluted market. If you had thought that things were going to go south with Trey Smith, let's face it, the reality of it is you'd have been better off trading him April 24th than May 27th. So I still don't think that things are that far down. Now, still a possibility that Trey Smith plays out the year. Yeah, I'm not going to say there's zero chance because anything is possible at this point. I still don't think that that's the most likely scenario. The most likely scenario is that the Chiefs and Trey Smith get something done, and he's with the Chiefs for a while. Is there a possibility that he plays under the franchise tag? He has signed it. Yes, there's a possibility of that. I think even smaller is the possibility of a trade. So there's a lot of things that could happen. I just don't think that there's likely any of these darker timeline scenarios that are going to happen. Aaron, is there any truth to the rumors that Zadarius Smith wants to play for the Chiefs, and could the Chiefs afford him? Zadarius Smith could play for anybody he wants to if he's willing to take very little money. And the Chiefs wouldn't have to pay anybody zero to come play for them. They wouldn't have to pay him league minimum. They could certainly afford some incentive-laden deals, and looking to see what Zadarius' numbers were last year. Now, directly to your question, any truth to the rumor? I haven't heard anything. Doesn't mean that there hasn't been any of the conversations or discussions. It is certainly possible. I'll be honest. I'm not sure. Would he be a good addition for the Chiefs? Probably. Because Zadarius is 32. He's getting up there. Last season split between Cleveland and Detroit, still played 17 games. He's been consistently healthy, even with, bouncing around from team to team in the last few years. Had 9 sacks last year. That's a decent total. Could he fit in? Sure. If you're the Chiefs, do you want to go that direction? If, you've got George Karlaftis, you've got Mike Dana, you've got Charles Omenihu, you want to get Ashton Gelati in there. You still have Felix Anudike-Uzomah, and you're not necessarily looking to walk away from that. If Zadarius Smith came in, that would be your 6th defensive end. So it would make that position a little heavy. Would it make the likelihood or possibility of trading someone that you've got? Which, Felix would be the most likely trade candidate of that group. I don't think you would be. I don't get the sense that the Chiefs are still looking to walk away from Felix. This is the year for him. I think it's more likely that the Chiefs would stick with what they have. Now, is it a slam dunk? No. And injuries can happen, and the Chiefs could very well be in a situation where we're like, wait a minute, we're not completely sold. This is an older group. It's a group that didn't have a great season last year as far as getting, pressure on the quarterback, even discounting the fact that Charles Omenihu was, only available for the late in the second half of the season. So it wasn't 100%. So could you still want to add some firepower, especially as pure pass rusher into that group? Sure. I think numbers wise, it makes it a little bit more difficult, especially since the Chiefs, I think, have a bigger need at tackle. But, there's not necessarily a tackle out there that really fits what they need at maybe the price that they're willing to pay. Could be happy with what they have at tackle, although I think that's still a position that they would be keeping an eye on, trying to make an upgrade with what they've got there. Smith fitting in, I know it's been discussed before, and he's played in some 3-4s. That's probably a better fit for him. Doesn't mean that he couldn't fit in with what the Chiefs do, and he has been obviously an effective pass rusher in the past. 10 sacks, recently. I think it was 22 was his last double-digit sack season. 9 sacks last year. Productive player. I wouldn't say no. If you're the Chiefs and you want to kick the tires, I don't think it'd be a bad thing. But specifically, have I heard anything to the rumor? I haven't. Would definitely let you know when and if I do. And things like this can heat up pretty quickly. So we'll see what happens. Chris, I know this is a morbid question, but what happens to Chiefs ownership if Clark Hunt passes suddenly away like Jim Irsay did last week? Yes, yeah, Chris, it's a little grim. We've had some grim questions the last couple of weeks, but specifically, I don't know. Obviously, I believe every NFL team likely has a succession plan in place. What would I suspect would be the situation with the Chiefs? I mean, remember, Clark is not a sole owner of the Chiefs. He is just chairman and CEO. He and his siblings, which you all may remember how many there are more than I do. I believe there's 5 kids altogether, because there's Sharon, there's Lamar Jr., there's Clark. There's another brother I'm blanking on. I think there's another sister. So I feel like Dan, right? Dan's the other one. And so, yeah, that's what my understanding would be. I mean, it's that group would continue its ownership. I don't know how Clark's share in the Chiefs would progress. My impression would be that it would likely go to his heirs. So it could certainly go to his children, whether it's split up or whether it's solo, whether it would go to his wife. I mean, pure speculation. I mean, wouldn't know, but what would happen to the Chiefs? I mean, it would remain in the Hunt family. Like I said, Clark is just a minority owner. He and his siblings have, I believe, roughly all similar shares, if not identical shares, in the Chiefs. There may have been some changes over the past, but remember, I mean, yeah, Clark is just I believe he's required to have a little bit more. I don't know if the NFL still requires you to have like a 51% share. I think you just have to have a principal share, have one shareholder, one ownership holder that has at least the plurality. I don't remember what the threshold is anymore. I'd have to look it up. I apologize. I don't know remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I have no doubt that the Chiefs have everything, and Clark has everything set up to handle that. I would imagine every NFL team, of the states those size would have everything in place in case, and knock on wood, the worst thing were to happen. But it would certainly, I have no doubt, stay within the Hunt family. So that's a good thing for the Chiefs, and I think certainly for Kansas City. Scott, with Kelce and Mahomes having multiple plays where they weren't on the same page, would it have been better if Kelce was at Mahomes' passing camp? No. I mean, if the few times that Kelce and Mahomes aren't on the same page, those are typically just they didn't see the same thing on the play and didn't make the same adjustments, and they're not usually dramatic. I mean, were there more last year? I didn't go through and count them individually. There's probably been times in the past where when they weren't on the same page, I mean, honestly, maybe Kelce just had the athleticism to make up for it a little bit more in the past. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, Travis last year was starting to show the age a little bit, and that's not a knock. I mean, I still think he's one of the best tight ends in the league, and I wouldn't let anything happen to him. No, I would say, and I'm assuming that we will not see Travis at OTAs. I guess the tabloids are keeping pretty good tabs on Travis down in Florida and where he's at. So I guess once you see pictures of him and Ed at Home Depot or whatever it was, I'm assuming we're not going to see Travis at OTAs. But I know those two have seen and done enough together that no time down in Texas or at OTAs is going to change that. They usually do see things the same way, Scott, and so the times last year when they didn't, it's just because sometimes it's a judgment call, and sometimes they just don't hit it. That's always happened. It's always going to happen. Not ideal, but it's what you live with when you've got two guys that freelance as much as they do together, and who I think probably 98% of the time do see things the same way. I don't think it's a big deal yet. So Mark asking the same question, kind of what the heck is up with Trey Smith not having a long-term deal yet? I mean, I haven't heard specifically, Mark. I mean, I'm digging as much as I can to see if there's, but so far neither side's really is negotiating publicly, and that's usually a good sign. So the fact that neither side's, felt the necessity to call up a reporter and air their grievances about what's happening, usually means that they're not that far apart, or at least that there hasn't been any acrimony. It's usually at least a decent sign that if things aren't close, that at least they're not at each other's throats or anything of that nature. Usually on deals like this, we'll start to get smoke signals before something happens that that they're talking or they're close. We have right now it's been radio silence, and like I said, I mean. I doubt that much progress happened on this deal leading up to the draft. I think the first couple of weeks after the draft were still, busy for both Brett and for the agents. So I wasn't expecting, based on what I had been told, that there probably was going to be any progress on this until late May. And then you get into the Memorial Day weekend. So I really wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't much traction on this until right about now. Once, the third phase begins and OTAs begin, we'll see if, Trey does come in for this period. Remember, it's voluntary. So he's not required to be here until mini camp. And then once again, minicamp, the fine is a pretty small price to pay in comparison to what he's going to be making this year and what he would make in a long-term deal. So if he didn't feel the need to risk it for 3 days at the minicamp to make sure he doesn't get hurt and miss out on a long-term deal, wouldn't surprise me. So we'll see what happens. But I don't get the sense that there has been anything whatsoever that's affected the deal. So until you hear otherwise, I think it's a good sign, at least as far as there not being any negative progress. And I really wouldn't be surprised if you're in the next 3 weeks. I would probably be slightly surprised if there's not a deal done before the end of the veteran minicamp. That would be kind of my soft deadline. If there's not a deal done, then that's when I'm going to be like, kind of, what's up? It could still go longer than that. We've seen deals go into training camp before. There's not really a specific deadline on this, other than if you're the Chiefs, you've got a time when you would like to make sure that Trey is in there so that he's not missing anything and that he's in there for the early part of camp. But, anymore, it's not like the opening day of camp is a hard, deadline. I mean, especially with the ramp up period. We've seen that before too. I mean, Orlando Brown, remember a few years ago, skipped basically the ramp up period. I mean, he didn't come in really until the pads came on. So, that's kind of, if anything, maybe the harder deadline. So I think you're probably looking at 5-6 days in the camp, being when you really, really get concerned. And I'm not even, like I said, I wouldn't be terribly concerned. I would just have my eyebrows raised if there's not a deal done by June. I say by the end of the mini camp, which is June 19th. I guess June 20th will be that Friday. I mean, so I'd go with like the 20th, 21st being the date that if something's not done by then, I'm like, okay, what's up? But I wouldn't think that it's a serious issue or a serious concern until you get a week into training camp. And then you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's gone wrong? Especially if we haven't heard anything by that point and things haven't started to come out publicly. Brian, will we see Kelce's targets curtail if this wide receiver group is for real? You certainly could, and that could be, I mean, it would be good for one thing. I mean, if you see more targets to the wide receivers, and that's because they are playing well, if the numbers are up, I mean, Kelce's not going to care what his targets are if this team is winning and then the offense is playing well. He gets it. I mean, will it be a hard adjustment? Could it have been a hard adjustment at times last year? Maybe. But again, the injuries really kind of forced everything to still go through Travis, even though his numbers were down. And, and teams, obviously, he was the one thing that they had to take away. So he definitely saw certainly more triple teams last year than he probably has had in a while. But, even the double teams, he faced a lot of those last year. And he would continue to see those. If the crazy thing is, Brian, that I could actually see his numbers going back up, even if this wide receiver group is for real, because then if Travis, even at this point in his career, start seeing one-on-one matchups again, he could have a really good year. He's still got it in him. So I feel like there's a long range of outcomes that could happen. I mean, this wide receiver group could be for real, and it boosts Travis' numbers. It could be that this wide receiver group is for real. It lowers his numbers. It could be that the tight ends behind him are for real, that Noah Gray continues to develop. Someone pops out, whether it's a Jared Wiley or a Jared Breeningstool or someone else pops up and all of a sudden is producing. All those things could happen. So, I mean, the most likely outcome with Travis at this point of his career, obviously, is that his numbers are going to, continue to slowly trend downward. So, I mean, if you put his numbers as last year as an over-under, I'd take the under. But you make a good point, which to me, I would say that, a indication that this wide receiver group is for real would be that Travis starts getting less attention. And if Travis gets less attention, his numbers could rebound. So let's see what happens. Brian, where's the variable mileage guy? I'm here. I mean, your mileage may vary, Brian, but I am here. I think you were. Hey, that was even after I actually got here, Brian. So, Terry, will the Chiefs be able to extend Karlaftis? Looks like the D-line market is getting expensive, and that's what I wonder, Terry, because especially, I mean, one of two things is going to happen this year, for this season with Karlaftis, is that if he has a really good season, if he has a contract year type season, even though he's got one more year on his contract with a 5th-year option, if he has a contract season and breaks out and has 13, 14, 15 sacks, something in that ballpark, he's going to be a $25 million plus player. So if you're the Chiefs, can you afford George Karlaftis at top of the market rates? That's tough with everything else that you got. I mean, I think it might be that could force your decision a little bit, because then your question right now is, did you draft Ashton Gelati with the expectation that you're going to have to replace George Karlaftis, or is he going to be playing across from George Karlaftis one day? I mean, they're very similar players. Let's face it. I mean, they've drawn a lot of comparisons. They work together. There's a lot of similarities between them. So I could absolutely make the case that, Ashton Gelati, and once again, we haven't seen him put the pads on, so we don't know what he's going to look like, but he's here to either replace Karlaftis or to play across from him, one or the other. If, on the other hand, Karlaftis doesn't have a breakout season this year, if you're the Chiefs, I mean, you're not going to be paying top of the market deals for a guy who goes out and has 8 sacks this season. You wouldn't be paying him $25 million a year. But if you're George Karlaftis, you may want to bet on yourself in that 5th year to go out and have I mean, that's why I keep saying that George Karlaftis basically has 2 contract seasons in front of him. If he has a big breakout season this year, he's double-digit sacks, like I said, and not just 10. I think it needs to be more like in the 13 to 15 variety. But if he goes out and has what you basically would call a typical contract season, then he's, from a business standpoint, he's got to do one of two things. He's either got to push himself and push the Chiefs so that they give him a long-term deal, or he needs to push himself out of Kansas City and say, look, send me somewhere else where I can get a long-term deal. If he doesn't have a contract season this year, then you play the 5th year and you try to have that contract season and break out that year. So I mean, that's the business aspect of it. So each side's got different motivations. I mean, could the Chiefs decide, hey, wait a minute, we want to block up Karlaftis. We don't want to mess with it. We would like to get something done. Maybe pay him less than he could get if he does have a breakout season. Would Karlaftis agree to that? I don't know. I mean, he may be better. Like I said, I feel like he's got 2 seasons to bet on himself, not just one. He's got basically 2 to bet on himself. And I still think that the Chiefs, their number one priority for that draft class is still going to be Trent McDuffie. And if you get Trent McDuffie done, do you have money left over for George Karlaftis? I mean, you can't sign everybody. You're going to have to make some tough decisions at some points. That said, I mean, if the Chiefs are going to make big signings going forward, it's going to be keeping their own guys. They're not going to, really go out on a ledge and, sign a bunch of big name free agents from other teams. They're going to be signing their own guys. Investing in them early as you can would be a great way to keep some of these. But as we've seen, with like Trey Smith, it's got to be a two-way deal. You had that with Creed Humphrey. Creed was willing and able to be the highest paid center in the league and got a deal done. Hey, did the Chiefs try to make an offer to get Trey Smith? Would they have made an offer to get Trey Smith the highest paid, guard in the league last year? I don't know that they would have. I don't know that they did. I doubt that they did. I doubt that any, contract negotiations really took place, because it certainly seems like that if the Chiefs did, that Trey wasn't, and his agency wasn't really interested, or more likely, there was a brief exchange of numbers about what each side was thinking about. And then it was like, okay, well, let's circle back at the end of the year. I don't know. Neither side's told us exactly what happened last year, except the fact that they didn't really talk about anything. These can go a lot of different directions, but I'm kind of wandering on you a little bit, Terry, because but again, these things all kind of all tie together, and every contract negotiation, while being different, there's similarities. So, it takes two to tango. Chiefs being able to extend Karlaftis, part of it really depends on Karlaftis and how much he wants, and when he's willing and to sign, and when are the Chiefs willing and able to do something. I think it'd be great for both sides if they, could get something done below market rate for George Karlaftis. And I say below market, I'm not saying like 15 million. I mean, you'd still have to pay George Karlaftis 20 million plus. It would give him security, but I can also see, like I said, Karlaftis has 2 contract years in front of him. Either one of these 2 years he busts out, he's going to be one of the higher paid. He's going to be in one top 5, top 10, top 8 defensive ends in the league. So, Brian, this ain't exactly the West Coast offense anymore. What is it? What offense does Andy have a history of? Go Sneaky Go. I mean, Andy will tell you it's still the West Coast offense. It's just the evolution of the West Coast offense, that they still, use base principles of the West Coast offense and things that, Bill Walsh was running 45 years ago. It's just the evolution of it. It's just continual changes. So I think that the base concepts are still there. It changes based on your personnel. Obviously, there's different things that you do, but there's still absolute basic things that, the build concepts that Bill Walsh taught, that he ran, that, my brain fog and my old age is continuing to get me. Andy's mentor in Green Bay. My ability to remember names has always been bad, though. So, Mike Holmgren, thank you very much. Remembered that on my own. Things that Mike Holmgren, learned from Bill Walsh and picked up and taught Andy. I mean, they just always continue to just take it and take the next step with it. So. I think it's still the West Coast offense. I mean, there's obviously base principles as far as just everybody being a target, how you use the tight ends, how you use the running backs, blocking schemes. I mean, all of that is still a big part of the West Coast offense. It may not look like, what the 49ers ran in the 1980s, but it's just the next version of it. And I think it's probably more Andy Reid, where he has probably, evolved a little bit more. I think it's more about the pacing of Andy Reid. It's more about the game calling and the scheming. I mean, I think the game planning is probably a little bit different. The concepts are there, but, Andy, I feel like, coaches games to make it so that, he doesn't want any more games to be shootouts. I mean, I think once upon a time he would have just, said that, hey, scoring the most points is the goal. I think now he'd tell you that winning the game is the goal, and just limiting the other team the opportunities to take shots at you is probably how you win football games. It's certainly how the Chiefs have won football games. Just that you just try not to let the other team have too many shots at you. It's like a boxing match to a degree. You try to score your points where you can, and you take advantage of it, and you just try not to let the other team land any haymakers against you. That may be where Andy Reid's differ a little bit than maybe the, Bill Walsh as far as game planning goes, but I don't think it's the the elements of the offense are any different. Maybe just the way that Andy, like I said, just calls a game is maybe a little bit different than the way some other, West Coast coaches have done. But then again, I mean, I think some of that's evolved too, but because he's got a really good defense, and not every West Coast offense has had a good defense to go along with it. And obviously he's got a quarterback that might arguably be the best quarterback that's ever been in a West Coast offense. And that I would have to research a little bit and put some into it. But I think I could probably make that case. I mean, I love Joe Montana. I mean, Joe Montana was one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up. But Joe Montana's not as good as Patrick. I mean, Patrick's better. So, and I mean, obviously, if you think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in NFL history, then you obviously would think that and believe that he's the best, West Coast quarterback of all time. And I think Patrick will tell you he's a West Coast quarterback. So, Justin, I like that. Remake Ebony and Ivory, just because I remember the song very well. I grew up with that song. So that would be a good one. You probably have to get the licensing rights for that one. That would be tough. But I'm hoping that the contract negotiations do not interfere with another Creed and Trey commercial. So I hope that is absolutely coming our way this year. Brian, have the Chiefs pre-snap motion tactics made exotic defense combinations mandatory for opposing teams? I mean, again, and Andy Reid will tell you this. I mean, it just goes back to the West Coast offense. Pre-snap motion is not really it's bare minimum. I mean, it's not about gaining it's not about exploiting a matchup against the defense. It can be. There are times, but there's a reason for every pre-snap motion. And obviously, vast majority of the time, pre-snap motion is there just because you're trying to get the defense to give you away what coverage that they're in and what they're doing. You're looking, even though defenses nowadays, most of the time they try to disguise it as best they can, but even if they're motionless, sometimes the defense can still, with their eye movement, a shift of their feet, a shift of their stance, will tip you off as to what coverage they're in, whether they're in man, whether they're in zone. Sometimes their movements will be more obvious. Sometimes they will have movements that are built in to counter your pre-snap motion, to try and make it so that you don't know you can't guess. You're guessing correctly which coverage that they're in. But I still don't think that hey, there are certainly times that you use motion to try and get a matchup that's more favorable to you, but more often than not, I mean, unless you're getting the Dolphins are really good at getting the ball to players in motion, and unless you're using the motion for that, there's a purpose to the motion. I mean, it's not just there to for eye candy. It's not just there for the sake of doing it. I mean, and certainly not for Andy Reid. I mean, every pre-snap motion that he does has a reason and a method to it. It's not there for just trying to confuse a defense. I mean, there's a bigger meaning to it, as far as whether, like I said, it's trying to get a matchup, whether it's trying to identify what the defense is doing. I mean, I give Andy Reid a ton of credit on some things. There's probably times that, he and Patrick pick up things off the motion that the defense doesn't even realize that they're giving away. So, Nikki, would the inheritance taxes have an effect on the Chiefs ownership? I mean, there are probably some teams where that has been the case, Nikki, and this is way over my head as far as the financial aspects of it. But at least my understanding is that, with a lot of the trusts that are created, that's done to try and minimize that, so that, the heirs for inheriting an NFL team don't have those kind of issues as far as having to pay the taxes on the teams themselves. How all that works, I am not a tax expert, so I can't, explain that. And this is one of the points that this is a tough one, because depending on who you ask, there's different lists out there of NFL owners. And, one thing is that commonly gets, I think, a little bit mistaken here, is that, the Chiefs are identified as being owned by the Hunt family. And then when they list the Hunt family, they say the Chiefs are the Hunt family is like maybe one of the top 2 richest NFL owners because the family has like a $26 billion net worth or something. Well, that includes not just, the Lamar, senior offshoot of the family. That also includes his like brothers and uncles. And so it's not like the entire Hunt family. Now, if you take Lamar's kids and obviously put them all together, collectively, they got some money, and even Clark's got some money. So I'm not trying to downplay that, that they don't have an excessive amount of wealth. I mean, they're rich cats. That's a pretty cool problem to have. And so individually, that's where it gets a little tricky because I mean, if you were just to look at Clark's family in particular and just that part of the family individually, they'd probably be borderline as far as having the worth to own an NFL team on their own. I mean, the Chiefs' value would, I think, if I'm not mistaken, dwarf like their individual net worths. So it's because they're pooled together, and because they obviously have the families on the team for decades. It's they don't have that issue as far as being like one of the poor NFL teams that teams talk about. I mean, because they're collectively together, they got a decent. But and that's the other, like I said, the other thing is that and this, I'm once again probably getting far afield of the question, Nikki. So I'm sorry, but it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Every once in a while, the Chiefs will be listed as the Hunt family being one of the NFL's richest owners, and the reality of it is that when you use the Hunt family net worth, you're including like the kids of Nelson, and I'm trying to remember Nelson's the other brother, and that you're including all parts of the Hunt family, which goes back to Lamar's father, and and the Hunt oil fortune, and what he was, the EL Hunt was his dad. I mean, and so then you had multiple generations. I mean, you got multiple forks. So yeah, the Hunt family, if you include their net worth, but that's also branches of the family that have nothing to do with the Chiefs and have no part in the ownership, since it's just Lamar's family, part of the family that does. None of his brothers and sisters, for the most part, aren't involved in that. So, and certainly not his. I mean, like I said, there's other branches of the family through his dad and everything. It's complicated and more complicated than I'm probably making it to be. But short version, Nikki, which I've done a very poor job of, I don't think that would be a huge issue. I mean, like I said, I'm not smart enough and well versed enough in taxes to be able to explain it, but it doesn't seem like you run into those problems very often, except for just families that maybe have net worths of which the team is the overwhelming majority of it and don't have other resources. I mean, and obviously the Hunt family has a lot of other business ventures. The Chiefs are to a degree even probably a small part of their empire. So that's probably about the best way I can probably make sense of a muddled situation that I've created for myself there, Nikki. You're probably less informed than you were before you asked the question. Pete, hey, does Skyy make the roster? Sure, there's a chance, Pete. I mean, how good of a chance? I mean, I think it's less than 50-50 just because of what the Chiefs have done, what they've brought in. Obviously, injuries will play a part of that. How well Skyy plays will be a part of that too. I mean, if Skyy comes in and looks like a different player and is healthy, he can make a big difference. So I don't know. I don't think it's 0% chance that Skyy makes the roster. He absolutely has a chance, but I think he's going to need some help, and I think he's going to have to help himself a little bit. Bruna, I have not seen any indication that Kelce was at OTAs today. Doesn't mean that he wasn't. Certainly, I don't know if the paparazzi caught him today in Florida, so for sure where he was. But I don't know for sure. I have not heard. I'm sure there will be one of us will hear eventually whether Travis is out there, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting him to be out there for OTAs. I think there's probably a better chance that he comes in for mini camp, but I mean, this goes back to what I said I would have done, and I would have done this, if I'm Andy Reid at the Super Bowl. certainly the day after the Super Bowl. And, I know there's obviously some, conjecture that maybe Travis went to Andy Reid and was saying that he was thinking about calling it quits. I go back to what I would have said to Travis in February if I'm Andy Reid, and I still stick with it. Even after Travis said that he plans on coming back this year. I don't need to see you in May and June. Go take some time off. Take some time, relax, get ready for the season. You don't need to put the effort that you usually put into offseason workouts and spend that energy and that time and that effort during OTAs. Go relax, go enjoy yourself, do what you need to do. We'll see you in July. That's what I would have told Travis. I don't know that Andy Reid told Travis that. That's what I would have said to him if I were Andy Reid. And I mean, so far it looks like that's what Travis is doing. So like I said, I don't know if that was what Andy Reid said for sure. I don't know if that's just what Travis decided he was going to do regardless. But I mean, hey, is it great to have Travis around as an influence on the young kids, and certainly from the young tight ends and for young receivers that you've got? Is he a good role model to have around? Absolutely. I mean, nobody works harder than Travis. He sets the tone when he's there, but he can do that in July. So you've got other guys that can pick up the slack. You can learn from Travis later. You're going to be around him for an entire season. So if you're a young tight end, young receiver, you're going to pick up things from Travis. But rest assured, there are other players there who will set the tone. And if you need to be reminded that Travis gets to do what Travis wants to do, because he's been doing it for 13 years and doing it better than you're doing it right now, that's all you need. I mean, and Travis, if there's anybody who has questions about his effort, or anybody who has questions about, what the tone of being with the Chiefs is, Travis will remind them when he gets here in July. And that's like assuming that he does. That's when we see him next. I wouldn't have any problems with seeing Travis in July. Julia Gulia, have all the draft picks been signed? Should I curb my enthusiasm for Jake Breeningstool? I believe I'm not mistaken, Omar Norman Lott still remains the last unsigned free agent. And, there's some conjecture that, with the second round picks this year, that it's going to be a little trickier, because there have been some second round picks, especially some of those were selected around where Norman Lott was selected, that have been getting really good guaranteed money. I mean, guaranteed money is the new thing in the NFL for draft picks. It's getting to be just like it was years ago, except now at least there's a slotting system. So we're not having these astronomical quarterback deals and, first round deals like, Sam Bradford signing, I think, $65 million before he ever played a down. You don't get those kind of deals, those monstrous numbers, but you are getting more and more money guaranteed for draft picks. And, there was for a while that it was the first round draft picks, because, I mean, signing bonus is guaranteed. I mean, that's the one thing that's always guaranteed. Usually it's the salary that's not guaranteed in NFL contracts. Well, just like we've seen it with free agents, there has been an increase towards, using guaranteed money to get rookies signed and get them signed faster and make sure they're not holding out. For the most part with rookies, I mean, you're going to pay them the money anyway. I mean, you don't walk away from, rookies in, the first 4 or 5 years, especially if they're first or second round picks very often. Started with the first round picks, more and more of them getting more and more guaranteed money, to the point now where, I mean, Josh Simmons got 100% guaranteed deal. I mean, pretty much it seems like every first round draft pick is getting 100% guaranteed. Now you're starting to see that the second round picks, they're getting more and more guaranteed. So, hey, if the Chiefs wanted to guarantee all of Norman Lott's contract, they could probably get that done pretty quickly. But there are some kind of up and down contracts in the second round and late where, especially where Omar Norman Lott was selected. So that's where it's going to get tricky. I'm expecting that he's going to get signed. It's going to be sooner than later. But that's just the holdup now as far as breaking that down. As far as curbing enthusiasm for Jake Breeningstool, at this point, Julia, I can't do that to anybody. I'm not curbing anybody's enthusiasm. I mean, I'm tapping the brakes in that he's an undrafted free agent. And do undrafted free agents go to the Hall of Fame? No. I mean, is Jake Briningstool going to, in the next 4 years, put up 5,500 yards? Probably not. Is he going to be 1,000-yard receiver one day? Probably not. I mean, that's just, not very often that undrafted free agents put up those kind of numbers and become those kind of things. I think he's got an exception to be at the high end, or at least of what, undrafted free agents can be. So, likelihood of him breaking out in year one, slim, but I feel like he's a guy that could develop into a solid number 2 tight end, maybe be a 500-yard receiver, especially in the Chiefs offense. We'll see. Once again, your mileage may vary, but I'm not going to curb anybody's enthusiasm. Like I said, I just set reasonable expectations based on what he is and how he was procured. I've got the same kind of brakes on myself for Jalen Royals this year, just because I'm being realistic about what a 4th-round pick in an Andy Reid offense can and is usually is. You're probably looking at something in between Chris Conley's rookie year and Demarcus Robinson's rookie year. I think it'll be better than Demarcus Robinson. Could be wrong, and I doubt he's probably going to be as good as Chris Conley. Maybe he will be, but I would peg him in between those two right now. It's just if you expect reasonable expectations for a player selection, you'll never be disappointed. You can be impressed sometimes, but you'll never be disappointed. I mean, I guess you could technically. I mean, if Jalen Royals goes out and only has like 200 yards receiving in his career, that'd be a disappointment. But hey, I'm not going to curb. I'm not going to break anybody for Briningstool. Like I said, my only breaks are just reasonable expectations for what he is. Don't expect him to go to the Hall of Fame, and you're okay. So. Mark, how many wide receivers do the Chiefs keep this season? Predict who yours will be. Go. Oh, dang. Well, this will fly in the face of, I guess, my giving Skyy Moore a chance, because he's got a chance. He just would not be on my 6 right now. I'm going to pull up the roster just so I don't forget anybody, but barring injuries, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Keeping 6 would be my projection right now. And you make me think, Mark, because I need to do a kind of a way too early roster projection. I will probably do that after Thursday's OTA availability, so that then maybe you can glean whatever you want to glean from that. But hey, obviously Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. I'm putting Rashee Rice in the 6 right now because I'm assuming that he is going to be ready to go at the beginning of the season. Obviously, there's always a chance with coming back from injury that he's not ready to go. I think he's going to be ready to go, though, so he would be part of the 3 of my 6. Jalen Royals, for sure, obviously the 4th. I think I would probably throw Juju Smith-Schuster into that 5th, but obviously there's always a chance. I mean, he could get outplayed. He's obviously the mileage is more of an issue for Juju than really the age. He's still a relatively, he's 28. It's not over the hill, but it's just that he's got a lot of miles on those knees and he's had some injuries, and those are tough, but he's still a savvy veteran, so I'm not going to bet against him. And I'm gonna pencil in Nico Remigio as my 6th right now, because I just think that that he's the one guy that's got the most punt return experience. You're going to need 2 kick returners. You may have 2 kick returners out of your group of Brashard Smith, Jalen Royals. You're probably throwing Noel Williams in there, but I'll say this. I mean, there's not a chance. There's no necessarily guarantee that any or all of those guys become kick returners. Noel Williams, maybe you don't use him. I mean, if you're thinking that he's going to play a lot of defense, or maybe you just want to protect him a little bit. If Jalen Royals is playing more than you think, maybe there's injuries, you might not have him, because that's has been can be an issue sometimes, that you don't want a guy who's playing a lot of offense returning kicks, because then you got to take him out at the beginning of a drive. hey, my one, player from the outside, there's a bunch of guys that obviously could compete for positions. Magdalena, Fresno State, the undrafted rookie free agent. There's a couple of those guys that could compete. Elijah Badger from Florida could be in the mix. The one guy that's, the I want to see how he fits into this offense is Tyquan Thornton. With his speed and what he can do, things did not work out in New England. I'm interested to see with his speed what he can do in this offense. Not predicting he's going to make the roster. Could still be a practice squad guy like he was last year for most of the season. Just want to see what he's like. And that sixth spot, I mean, those last two spots absolutely could be competitive. It's not a guarantee. I mean, I'd probably put Juju at maybe 60%, Nico maybe 50. Those two could, I mean, they might, be more firm than that. We'll see what happens once we get the pads on and everything. Once you get to camp, but those would be my 6 right now, Mark. Aaron, how do you see Xavier Worthy's speed changing the way Mahomes attacks defenses compared to previous deep threats like Tyreek? And it's a good question, Aaron, because we didn't get to see a ton of it last year. I mean, obviously the Chiefs, they took some deep shots early, and I think some of the misses early in the season when Xavier was still kind of feeling his way through things a little bit, I think, kind of slowed them down in the second half. And obviously the protection issues slowed them down in the second half of the season too. Otherwise, I think you would have seen, more of them taking some shots with Xavier deep and maybe some hits. But I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, Xavier's speed as far as, on the deep balls can be just as effective as a Tyreek. I mean, I know by the 40 speed, Xavier's technically faster than Tyreek. I'm not sure anybody's faster than Tyreek. Tyreek didn't go to a combine. I think he would have only done the pro day at West Alabama. So who knows if that timing was correct. But I mean, Tyreek is like a record holder in the 100 meters. I mean, if he plied himself, because I think he like in the finals of the 100 meters in the NCAAs or when he was at Oklahoma State. I'd have to go back and look that up, but I mean, I think he posted some 100-meter dash times that would have been, I think his 40 splits in those were faster than like anybody at an NFL combine. I think his 40 split in the 100 meters was faster than Xavier's 40 time at the combine. So I don't know if anybody's got Tyreek's speed at Tyreek's peak speed. So, a little bit of tap the brakes. And here's the other part too, is that Tyreek, despite the draft, position difference, Tyreek was one of the best ball trackers I've ever seen. I mean, he's absolutely incredible at that. Xavier, even if he's amongst the best in the league, he might never be as good as Tyreek. And I'm just based on what I saw last year, that his ball tracking is not as good as Tyreek's. Maybe he could certainly develop more. I expect him to. His route running is going to improve, because I think that was a little bit of it last year. He had a tendency to drift. Mahomes can have a tendency to drift the ball a little bit too. So, maybe they, last year, some of their drops where they just both drifted in the wrong direction in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm tempted to just not put that kind of pressure on Xavier, that he can be as much of a deep threat like Tyreek was, because I think Tyreek was just simply on another planet when it became to be the deep threat. And he was obviously playing with Mahomes at a time when Mahomes was throwing the ball better than maybe anybody in the league. I mean, maybe Mahomes is still there. Maybe he's still got the, the ability to pinpoint the ball as well as he was with Tyreek. Maybe Tyreek just made his pinpoint accuracy look even better. I don't know. But I don't know what noise that was coming out of my mouth. I just think as good as Xavier, I think Xavier can be as a deep threat. I don't think that he's going to be as good as Tyreek was. I mean, I haven't gotten to a point right now where yet, and this is going to be the other real thing, because Tyreek changed the way that defenses played Mahomes forever. I mean, I just remember, in the early days of Tyreek in this offense, and you just saw a defense go into single high, and you're like, this is a touchdown. I mean, you just knew that every time that Patrick Mahomes saw a single high safety against Tyreek, that ball was going to Tyreek because Tyreek was going to be able to outrun everybody. You're not at that point with Xavier. Now, part of that problem too is that I might have been able to count on one hand how many times the teams played single high safety against Xavier Worthy and the Chiefs. So, Tyreek and Patrick have changed the way forever that defenses play them. So he's not going to maybe see the same opportunities. Now, hey, if the receiver group develops, if things come along, maybe you're going to end up in those situations where teams have to pick their poison, and maybe they're going to have to dare. And I think there probably will be some times this year that maybe the teams are going to dare Xavier Worthy to beat them deep, and they're going to challenge him to see if he can. And if Mahomes and Worthy can hit a couple of those, it'll change the way the defenses play them again. But that's going to be the real key to me, Aaron, is just that, will Worthy get some of those chances? Will defenses alter? Because once again, right now, every defense in the league plays a way to try and make sure that Mahomes does not beat them deep. They want everything in front of them. They want to force Mahomes to move as slowly down the field as possible. They want him to be methodical. They don't want him hitting big plays. They want him to be forced to throw the ball short, because the feeling around the league is that if you can frustrate Mahomes and get him to slow down and take things slowly, that he will get frustrated and he or one of his teammates will make a mistake. And that's when you pounce. And it's not always Mahomes that makes a mistake. They're counting on maybe being an offensive lineman or a receiver with a drop, anything, whatever you got. They're hoping and planning that if they can keep Mahomes from making the deep play, that they will force, the Chiefs offense to make a mistake. That's what they do. And until you can beat teams out of that, and since Tyreek left, they haven't had anybody that could do that. Xavier's got the possibility, but this will be an interesting year, Aaron. I'll be interested to see, because I do think that Xavier should take some steps forward as far as the deep ball goes. If the Chiefs can get some protection, sometimes you don't even need protection with speed. You just need good timing. So let's see what happens. I'm encouraged. I want to see what happens. So get down to 20 miles an hour, Brian. There you go. Gosh, I can't even imagine. Yes, 1970 Chiefs playoffs tickets being $25. In the 60s, season tickets might have been $25. Those were the good old days. Let's see what we got here. Oh, Aaron, the second question. Follow-up, is there a surprise cut candidate heading into the preseason? I'm way too far ahead of that so far, Aaron. I mean, it's, to me, it's still wide open. There's so much that can happen between now and the preseason. I mean, I see some, people making predictions, and, and that's why I'm like, I can't even begin to make one, because I see there was a piece from somewhere, saying that, Kareem Hunt was going to be was their surprise cut heading into the preseason. And I'm like, I guess a scenario where Kareem Hunt gets cut, and I think that specific case was saying that he was going to be a cap casualty. Well, he's not making any money. I mean, he signed like a $2 million contract. That's not enough to be a cap casualty. You don't save enough money on Kareem to be a cap casualty. So, I mean, yeah, it's to me, it's way too early. You got to get into August before you can say like there's a surprise cut or anything like that. I mean, the only thing you can really, to me, the conversation right now, if you want to have it, is really just, hey, are there any of your draft picks that you could be being a surprise cut? Which right now I haven't seen enough of any of them to think that. And then, two, are there any of your recent draft picks that would be players that you would be ready to give up on? And look at the numbers. I mean, I mentioned it earlier with Skyy. I mean, he's in that kind of ballpark, in that conversation. Is there anybody else? Hey, I don't know if there's anybody else that I could really put in that conversation of being a surprise cut, because I don't think anybody has put themselves into that situation yet. So we'll get closer to it, Aaron. Ask me that again. Bring it up in August. I'll give you some good answers. I promise. Terry, who was Reid's bell cow running back in Philly? I mean, he had a couple of them. I mean, Westbrook was obviously a big one. LaShawn McCoy was a big one. I mean, he had a few of them, and I'm with you there. I mean, there is just no limit, I think, to this Chiefs offense when you have an elite level running back in this offense. And, Kareem was the example of that. Kareem in 2017, 2018 was an elite running back. He was one of the best running backs in the league, like top 3 running back in the league. And look at what the Chiefs were doing. I mean, they were averaging 7 yards a play with him on the field in 2017, 2018, especially the first half of that 2018 season. They were the most prolific offense in NFL history. And I'm not, even like, we've talked about the fact that, hey, they were kind of forced to a little bit by the defense, being a little bit of just a absolute sieve back then. But it wasn't even the total of points and yardage. It was the yards per play that was ridiculous. 7 yards a play is ridiculous. I mean, there are teams that are lucky to average 7 yards a play in a single game, much less for every game. I mean, that was the ballpark of, greatest show on turf with the Rams. I mean, that was the only other team that was in that ballpark. So, yeah, I mean, to me, and no knock on Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco's been a good running back. Clyde had a good year. Damian Williams has had some, nice seasons. I mean, he was a very productive running back. But this offense, when you have somebody of the caliber of Kareem Hunt in 2017 and 2018, I mean, if you could get somebody like that, I mean, if you had Saquon Barkley in this offense, yeah, I mean, that's the way it would have been. So, hey, should the Chiefs have gone out and made that happen? Might have won the Super Bowl last year. I don't know, but I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, if the Chiefs have a top 5 running back, I mean, this offense, I think, just goes to another level. You can cover this offense to a degree, but when you've got, truly elite players at potentially elite players at all 5 skill positions, and you got speed that I think that they've got right now at different positions. And so do you have that on this team? I mean, is Elijah Mitchell that running back? Probably not. Could Brashard Smith be that running back? Well, hasn't been tested yet. So right now we can only imagine. I know Nick's got a pretty good imagination that Brashard Smith can be that guy. And if he can be, maybe we see this offense go back to those levels. Justin, seems like the pre-snap motion has been tipping off some plays lately. It's a possibility. I mean, especially if you get into some, ruts and you get into, maybe some of your old base stuff that you've been running before, and, and teams catch it. Hey, if you get you put any type of tendency on things on tape that teams can pick up on, eventually somebody's going to figure it out. So, yeah, I mean, you do have to sometimes self-scout your little self a bit and see if you are giving anything away. Is that it? I mean, and I've had other things discussed too. I mean, I'm not going to put them out there, because not my job to do anybody's scouting for them. I've had some other things that, reliable people that have watched this team have said that they feel like that maybe this team gives away sometimes. Maybe the Super Bowl is an indication of that. But hey, if you are tipping anything, if you're giving anything away, you got to figure that out. And if pre-snap could be it, well, alignment could be it. You never know. Let's see. Going through, looking for the next question. Always love the conversation, though. I'm so glad that you all come here and chat and have a good talk and conversation. Come on, Sean. You're always going to get a non-clickbait title from me. I mean, no, that's not what we do here. Yeah, yes, Nikki. Appreciate you being a member. I think you've been a member before, Nikki. So I know you're not a new member, but I appreciate you doing the membership again. Very, very grateful to all the members. Even though I treat you all terribly because you get exclusive benefits so rarely. I need to do some exclusive stuff for you members. So I promise you, with OTAs going on right now, I'm going to do something exclusive for the YouTube members. So if you're not one of our members, feel free to sign up. I will get you something exclusive I'm going to guarantee in the next 10 days. There might even be 2 things. I might just try to make my commitment to 2 things. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up in Springfield, and sometimes my mom and I would just just a random weekend be like, "Hey, let's go up to a Royals game." And yeah, those they were a lot cheaper back than those days because I grew up in the '80s, and I still one of my favorite stories was coming up. Mom and I just decided one Saturday morning, nothing to do that weekend. It was like, why don't we just drive up to Kansas City and go to the game? Royals were playing, I think, at 1:35 that day or something like that, playing the Orioles. And it was just like, hey, let's just go up and catch the game. We stopped for gas, picked up a newspaper, and when I was reading the paper, hadn't seen it yet. I found out that the game the night before got rained out, so it was going to be a doubleheader. Wasn't even planning on being a doubleheader when we drove up. So we got a lot of free baseball. It was hot. Jeff Montgomery, we didn't have tickets. We just came up and got bleacher tickets. Well, bleachers. I mean, what you call the bleachers? Just the general admission out in right field. Got those, and yeah, Jeff Montgomery came out because it was like 100 degrees, and he had the water hose from the groundskeepers and was hosing down everybody in the right field stand. So that was nice. Those were the good old days, Nikki. I'm with you there. Chris, what happens if come July Travis finds that the fire is not there and retires? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, is it possible? I mean, sure. I mean, it's entirely possible, but I just feel like that, and what we've been hearing from Travis on his podcast, and I don't think that. I mean, I think it's going to take a lot for Travis to lose the fire. I mean, I think it's going to. And because I think that the conjecture that Travis might walk away back in February, and there was a little bit of that conversation. I don't know how much of that was real. I mean, I don't think any of it was real. I feel like that Travis was pretty far away from even thinking about retirement. I could be wrong. I mean, Travis, I think is true to his word. I mean, I think he sincerely wants to play until the wheels fall off. The one thing I feel like that Travis also doesn't want to do, that I don't know that he's really said as much, because he leans on the, wanting to play until the wheels fall off. I get the sense also, though, that he does not want to, be a decrepit old man out there who can't play anymore, but is still sticking around. He doesn't want to be that guy either. So I know at some point I still think he's going to walk away when he's got some, some football still in him, and that I think he's going to walk away and retire when he still has some of the fire. I don't think he's going to feel that way in July. I think that the fact that he's already made the commitment, I think by now, if he didn't feel the fire, he would have already sent up some signals and just, probably gone to the Chiefs and said, hey, nah, let's not do that. I imagine that just if he does skip OTAs and everything, I think he's going to come back in July and just be more fired up than usual. What I would think you would hope for if you're the Chiefs is just he's a little bit more refreshed, that, not taking the pounding for a month that even OTAs does to you. I mean, let's face it, it's even if there's not pads on, there's not contact. I mean, there's still some bumps and bruises, and you get hit a little bit. I mean, there's more physicality than you realize, even though we're talking about there not being any contact. It's still football. It's still physical. So, like I said, I think he's going to come back and be more fired up than maybe even usual in July. Well, I guess we'll just see how long it takes before the rookies, tick him off when they're trying to, because, hey, for a rookie, a defensive rookie, the best thing that you can do is break up a pass or knock the ball out of Travis Kelce's hands. And that's what usually ticks off Travis in July, is that it's 105 degrees and some rookie is trying to knock the ball out of his hands. And, hey, we'll see if maybe not having to go through OTAs, if he doesn't show up for that, is, a month fresher. Maybe he'll be, more relaxed, Travis. Who knows? Oh. Mitchell, I know he was injured, but what do you see in Jared Wiley that I haven't seen? Bringing Stool seems to have more potential. It's interesting. I mean, and one thing, Bringing Stool brings to it, Mitchell, that I do really like is he's got size. I mean, Jared's a good sized dude too, but Breeding Stools I think just got a little bit more. I mean, Breeding Stool's I think maybe about an inch taller than Travis. I can't wait to see the two of them together because I do think Breeding Stool is a little bit taller. Body type, Travis is probably a little bit more muscular just because of over the years of going through NFL strength and conditioning. I mean, he's probably got that edge on him. I'll be interested to see what, Breeding Stool looks like in a couple of years after working with, Ryan Reynolds and the strength and conditioning staff, what he's like. Jared, I mean, I don't know if we really saw his best last year in periods, at least out there with the pads on. I think he was still kind of feeling his way through things early in the season before the injury hit. I saw a lot more during OTAs last year and during training camp up in St. Joe that, made me feel pretty good about Wiley. I mean, I think he's physical. I think he can do some things. Breeding Stool, I mean, we really haven't seen him do anything yet. So to a degree, we can kind of take what he did in college and project a little bit about what he's going to look like. And I think just where you got him, I mean, he seems like such an incredible value. I mean, we'll see what Breeding Stool looks like. Potential wise, I mean, yeah, the fact that, we haven't seen him on a football field, to me, I think helps out a little bit as far as seeing that potential because you can see what he did in college and at the level that he did in college and maybe apply that to the NFL and think, okay, well, that probably looks like maybe he could be better than Jared Wiley. There's a reason why Wiley was selected where he was and Breeding Stool where he was. Those reasons, I mean, we'll see if they become, part of the story. I can't project about why why 32 NFL teams didn't, select Jared Breeding Stool. They had their reasons. Is it the class? Is it just the way things set up? Was there something about his makeup that they had some concerns about? I don't know. I mean, there's some theories out there. I don't know if any of them are real. That's why I'm not going to mention any of them. And Wiley, I still think is kind of a blank slate too. I mean, I don't think I've gotten to see enough of him for us to have much of a projection. Like I said, I mean, I thought he would. I thought he was going to have. If once again, I mean, rookies like that, it's usually the second half of the season where they really kick in. And I thought that Wiley, if he was going to have a good year last year, it was because he was really going to kick in the second half. And then he gets hurt right before the second half of the season when I think he could have been maybe playing his best football. So what I've seen in Wiley is a really consistent guy. I mean, in training camp last year, seemed to catch everything that came his way. He was tough. He could block a little bit. I mean, it wasn't the forte of his game, but his hands were impressive. I mean, I think it was a misnomer. I mean, he was kind of touted as a block first tight end. He is not that. He is a receiving first tight end, but he was kind of undersold, I think, as far as, the ability to catch the football. And when he's healthy this year, we'll see if he gets on the field. Like I said, anytime anybody, I always say this with, knee injuries, you long timers know, especially when it comes to skill position players and coming back from a knee injury year one, I just don't expect much. I mean, if Jared Wiley is going to be what I think he could be, you're not going to see it till 26. But if he can get back on the field this year and produce, I mean, I think the sky's the limit for the kid. So we'll see what happens. But I still think there's a lot of potential in Wiley. It's just that he needs to be healthy and to get the chance. And if he's not healthy to begin the season, Breeding Stool is going to get a chance, and we'll see if he can make the most of it. Yeah, my kind of funny because that it wasn't really. I mean, it was probably I probably a little bit of that because we could have come up to Arrowhead during the 80s, my family, Brian, but it's just that there wasn't the motivation to. I mean, you look at the stadium and be like, there's 12,000 people in Arrowhead, and it was like, what's the motivation for the 3-hour drive up to sit in the cold and in the empty seats and everything? And by the time that the Chiefs got good, yeah, I mean, I remember it was the Buffalo game. So 91, 92. I want to say it was probably 91. Because I feel like that I'm remembering the house that we were living in. So I could look it up later and see if it was the 91 season when Buffalo played on a Monday night on October 7th, because it would have been my birthday. And the Chiefs just absolutely rolled them. I mean, by that point, yeah, then it was a little bit too much of a challenge because the Chiefs games were not as affordable as the Royals games were. We went up and spent a lot of time in the general admission. I mean, those GA seats in the outfield were a lot of fun. They got a little rough later on, but back in the 80s, early 90s, they were a little bit more family friendly. Same with Arrowhead too. I don't know if the upper deck of Arrowhead, I hope it's better than it was, but last time I was in the upper deck, it was not very family friendly. So I hope it's more family friendly than it once was, at least in the corners, where I'm saying cheaper tickets. I mean, those tickets are probably like $40 a game now, but Casey Harold, what is your optimism level going into OTAs with the team needs being addressed? I'll be honest, pretty high, Harold. I mean, I still think that, defensive tackle, I still think is the one area that they need somebody. We're going to find out, it's passing camp. So I think we should find out pretty quickly where these defensive backs are, especially the corners. Safety is a little bit more. I mean, I think there's, safety to me, it's a question of maybe just where the depth chart is, where players are best suited. I was talking with Ryan over on Locked On Chiefs today about that. And it came up that I'm just not sure that the Chiefs have a, true natural free safety. I think they got a bunch of guys who are really good at strong safety. It's just, and Brian Cook, I still feel like is probably best suited for that. Maybe Chamari Connor is suited to that too. And he probably is. I mean, if anything, I'd say Chamari is probably more of a natural free safety than a true box safety. I mean, I think Jaden Hicks is the best box safety, true kind of strong safety, heir apparent to Justin Reid that they've got. They need Jaden Hicks to kind of take that next level, I think. But as far as, true eraser on the back end that's got the speed, Brian Cook plays fast. He really does. I mean, he's not necessarily the quickest, but he's a natural player too. And I don't know if we've seen his speed fully recover since the ankle injury. So that's one of the things I'm looking for with Cook this year, is just to see if he can play a little bit faster than he did last year. If he can, then yeah, that's somebody that can make a difference. I think that they need somebody. Where did I miss this? Okay, I need to go back apparently and watch the video, because I missed that one. I even watched the video, so I must be crazy, Nikki. So I'm sorry. I must have lost it. So I have to go back and look at that. Apparently, I'm so sorry. But going back, I'll finish up with Harold and everything. I'm pretty optimistic. I mean, I think they've improved the team in a lot of places. It's just, once again, it's going to be, did you fix left tackle for the short term and for the long term? I don't know if you know about the long term yet. If Josh Simmons plays this year, I guess you'll get a sense of the long term too. But that's obviously an area that they need to fix. I think some of the addressing the team needs, some of it's going to be internal, as far as just, putting guys in the best position to make plays, as Andy Reid will say. So I think that goes a little bit with the offensive line and scheming and game planning. I mean, I don't know if we'll see a lot of that shows up and manifests itself during OTAs. I think we're probably going to have to wait till training camp when the pads come on and you see some contact and you see if things are a little bit different for the offensive line. I like, at least right now, where the defensive end group looks. I mean, that's again going to be until August, until we really figure out where that they are. But I mean, once again, I mean, it's left tackle is going to be that's a huge part of it. I think they're going to be pretty good at corner. I mean, I think they should be better than they were last year, especially having some guys back healthy. If Nazi can get back to healthy and the where he looked like he was 2 years ago, it's going to be they could be really good. He could be really good. I mean, there's always what ifs this time of year, and I'm probably usually a little bit more optimistic about this team, at this point in the year than maybe others are. I always seem like I'm probably a little bit more on the optimistic end. Um, they still need to go out there and prove it though. But I like what they've done, and I like what the receiver group looks like. I mean, it's just, once again, it comes back to, if this team stays healthy and executes, then I think they should be better than they were a year ago. It doesn't mean they're going to go 15-2, because, like I said, I mean, I think this is a 13-4 team. They go 13-4. They could be better than they were a year ago. I mean, it's just, they probably won some games last year that they shouldn't have, just as 2 years ago they lost some games that they shouldn't have. If this team's 13-4 this year, I mean, I think they could win a Super Bowl. They could certainly go further than they did last year when they were 15-2. So Amos Otis was amazing, by the way. My first game was 1980. So yeah, Freddie Patek was gone before I got up here to watch my first game. But August 1980, I was 8 years old. So that was my first game. Amos was still around. Oh, loved Amos Otis, Clint Hurdle, Willie Wilson, infield, Willie Aikens, Frank White, UL Washington, George, and Dave Chalk, Jamie Quirk. I mean, I love Dennis Leonard. Larry Gurr was my favorite pitcher, though, for some reason. Love Paul Splittorff, John Wathan, Darrell Porter. I could name the entire 1980 apparently Chiefs, but I can't necessarily remember Mike Holmgren's name. So, and yes, the baseball back in the 70s was hard and rough. All right. Nikki, did Breedingstool drop due to not running well? I hadn't necessarily heard that, Nikki, but, I mean, and hey, when players drop and, fall the draft to a certain round, or they, fall out of the 7th round. And honestly, I mean, when you're a day 3, level draft pick, falling out of the draft is not necessarily a huge fall. I mean, Brett Veach will tell you, I mean, that really once you get past maybe even the 2nd round, but certainly you get it into the 3rd round, there's going to be players that teams have on their boards in the 3rd round that aren't even on another team's board. So, to me, it's not a huge drop. What was maybe more interesting to me was that, Breedingstool, when I was, mentioned to him about, the number of teams that were interested in him, and it could have been another one of my colleagues that asked. I know we were talking to him about, teams that were interested in him, and he said that, I think there was only 4 other teams. I would have thought that there was a lot more interest. And once again, maybe that was, his agent only brought to him the more serious offers. So maybe there were other teams interested that just didn't, have the guaranteed money, or, enough of an offer that his agent even bothered to bring it to him. Might have, could have just been glossing over and said, oh yeah, hey, there's 12 teams that, offered a league minimum, nothing guaranteed. So, hey, maybe just glosses over that. And the Chiefs put some guaranteed money into, signing Breedingstool. So, I mean, that's the dichotomy of it. I mean, doesn't get drafted, but at the same time, I mean, the Chiefs and some other teams were willing to make an investment in him. I mean, may not have been everybody, but, a handful of teams were willing to make an investment in him to bring him in. So, hadn't heard a part about not running well, but, you never know about the reasons why you get cited that a player might drop out of the draft, or drop in the 1st round, or drop out of to a specific round. I mean, it can be anything, and it may not always be true, Nikki. You never know. Aaron, are there any new coaching assistants making a noticeable impact on player development? New coaching assistants is probably the hard words to work around there, Aaron, because, I mean, think about new assistants on this team. There aren't that many of them. I mean, you obviously got some new faces this year. I mean, a guy coming back, and Matt House, being a senior assistant on the defensive side. There was a little bit of tweaking in, some of the staff with, but I mean, you're not missing any of your position coaches for the most part. I mean, you got the bulk of that group back and everything, and your newest guys, I mean, Todd Pinkston at running back, I don't know if there's necessarily anything that stands out there. It's, and mostly, I mean, and hey, probably didn't get the credit that he deserves last year after taking the grief that he did a couple of years ago with Connor Embry at wide receivers coach. I mean, working with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, I mean, he got a lot out of those dudes. And, he took a lot of grief, when the receiver room was struggling a couple of years ago. And he's had 2 rookies perform really, really well. And probably deserves a little bit more recognition and credit for that. I mean, we'll see if you can keep it going. I mean, if Jalen Royals has a good year this year, then I think you can start to pin some things on Connor Embry and say, hey, wait a minute, he's doing something right here. I mean, it takes a village, but hey, is there anybody else that's in hey, on the defensive side, you've got, Joe Colin's not new. I mean, and he's obviously been doing a great job, I think, developing defensive line. I mean, Dave Merritt's one of the best in the business in the defensive secondary. And I think what he's done, I mean, even though he's had some draft picks, he's also turned some late round picks into productive players. He's, helped undrafted guys become productive players. He's dealt with injuries in an incredible way. I mean, I'm obviously always going to be a big Dave Merritt fan. So, but that's kind of, is the thing. I mean, everybody's most of the coaches have been here for a while, and the guys who haven't, Connor Embry is the one that I think maybe has earned the most reevaluation, because he's getting. I think he's improved as a coach. I think he's, and obviously the results I think on the field have been supportive of him. Okay, Nikki, you got a halter top day. I do remember that, even though I remember as a kid not really knowing what a halter top was. But I know that my mom came up for Mother's Day, and it was Ortego taco bag. And I might still have the Ortego taco bag wandering around here somewhere. But that was like my mom's favorite giveaway day of all time, because there was a really nice bag, and she could take that Ortego taco bag just about anywhere. So. Nick is enjoying his time off, Brian. He's Tuesdays there's a day off for him, so he has been wisely taking some time to himself. Obviously, you still get both of us on 41 is the mic, and we're going to be doing our recap this weekend of OTAs and what we get to see on Thursday. So you will get Nick, and hopefully we'll be able to get him back into the groove here pretty soon on the Q&A. Hey, he does the Q&A on his free time, on his day off. And so I am too grateful for him for all that he does to ever ask any more of him, because that dude does more for me than just about the best friend a dude can have. I say dude, he's one of the best friends any man or woman could have. He's just a good person to have in your corner. Mitchell, will you please tell me that Royals will kick Skyy Moore to the curb if Moore is on the roster again this season? I don't know how I can have a little compartmentalized hate for the Chiefs. I mean, hey, Mitchell, there's entirely a possible scenario where Royals and Skyy Moore are both on this team. So don't get too far ahead of the curve. I mean, you don't have to, hey, be like Jalen Royals or Skyy Moore is the end of the world. It could be both. I mean, Skyy's going to be in that conversation. And I continue to say it. I mean, it's, I think it's going to be a little bit more uphill battle for him than it was last year. I think there's going to be some more expectations for him this year. I mean, the Chiefs walking away from him wouldn't cost him as much as it would have last year. I mean, can you get anything for Skyy Moore? Probably not. I mean, you might be able to get like a conditional 7th if you wanted to move on from Skyy Moore, or you saw late in camp that you're not going to get anything. Is there someone who might be willing to take a chance on him? Entirely possible. I mean, Mike Bergonzi is probably not going to be one of those guys, because he's sitting first on the waiver wire line. And if Mike Bergonzi is a Skyy Moore fan, then he's could very well end up in Tennessee rather than on a Chiefs practice squad or on somebody else's 53. But I mean, don't say no quite yet. I mean, I say that because Skyy's been a good teammate as much as everything else is. I mean, the Chiefs like Skyy Moore. I mean, he wouldn't be here if he wasn't a good teammate, because he's had some troubles producing and everything, but he's done everything that this team has asked of him. I mean, he's had a good attitude throughout the whole thing. He's worked hard. I mean, it just hasn't always happened for him, and he's had some injuries that have played a part in it. I mean, I'm trying. I want to be as fair to Skyy as I can. I mean, as objective as I can to Skyy. I mean, it's been difficult to look at his performance and to be able to say, hey, can I look at what he's done for you right now and say that he's one of the 5 or 6 best receivers on this roster right now? I have a hard time making that case. But do I need to be open to the idea that he could go to training camp and become that? Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible. I mean, he could go to training camp and have a really good, period of time. I mean, he could have a good preseason. He could, stay healthy, do everything that he needs to do, and make this team. I mean, it's not impossible. Like I said, it's not 0% chance of making this team. I mean, Skyy Moore can do it. I mean, I think is one going to have some help. He's going to have to, outplay some guys. Maybe he's going to need some guys that either don't step forward or maybe take a step back. I mean, that might be required. But, hey, if Skyy shows development, I mean, the Chiefs won't give up on him. They'll give him a chance. I mean, it's not fait accompli with Skyy. I mean, he's got a chance to make this team. So like I said, I think it's less than 50-50, but I'm not going to, at the same time, bet against him because I've seen the dude put the effort in, and he's tried, and he's given it his best every single time. And if he can stay healthy and maybe get a couple of breaks and maybe figure some things out, he's got a chance. So don't be upset, Mitchell, if they both made the team. Because I'll tell you this right now. I mean, if Skyy Moore makes this team this year, I think it's because he has earned it. I think this year it's not going to be him making the team because he was a draft pick and because the Chiefs just still feel that there's potential in him. If he makes the team this year, it's because he's outworked some people and he has earned his spot. Okay. So the player we all think is Kelce is the guy with the blue shorts, black hat, and crazy tie-dye shirt. Okay, I will go back and look at that. As a matter of fact, if I could put it up on the screen, I would. But I think about the only way that I could pull that off, Nikki, would be to really kind of freak things out a little bit. And I am not interested in freaking things out a little bit. So there's Creed. Let's see. There's Mike Caliendo with the quietest appearance of all time. Okay, the black hat is. We're talking about the blue and white. Is that what we're talking about? After Caliendo. Okay, because that is the black hat. And I think that you mentioned that. Am I crazy? Well, you know what I can do. And this will. It doesn't really require anything except you all having the patience to put up with my nonsense over here. And I could have the wrong player, so I need to go back and let's look at your description. Yeah, black hat, crazy tie-dye shirt. And looking. Okay, so all right, tell me if I'm going to try and present this here if I can. Most exciting part of the live stream in live stream history. So is this who we're talking about? I'm looking into the comments, so if anybody's watching and wants to pipe in, feel free. I will remove that a little bit so we can see the whole picture and everything. Is that the one we're talking about? I mean, I can't tell you who that is for sure. I'm just not 100% it's Trav. I mean, I'm normally pretty good at knowing Travis by his walk, unfortunately. But who could it be? All right, I will do some investigation and find out. because I could be crazy. I mean, maybe you all are right. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that, you know, Travis said it right now. Well, okay, then that's Trav, and I'm definitely wrong then. Um, I don't know why. I just did not. I mean, I saw that, and I did not think that was Travis. I mean, it just looked a little bit different. So I stand corrected. All right, now you know I have my flaws. I definitely exposed one there. Did not know that. Did not realize that was Travis. So I apologize, everyone. Travis is there. Apologize to Travis. Did not know you were there. I think it's pretty impressive. Like I said, I did not expect Travis to be here for the voluntary portion of OTAs. I'm not surprised that he is. I mean, it's the weight loss. Good one, Kenneth. Appreciate that. That's a good one. I mean, I'm not surprised that Travis is here. I mean, that's just the kind of dude he is. I just don't think he needs to be here. And if he wasn't there, no one would begrudge him. Like I said, I would have told him, we'll see you in July. Take it easy, man. But that's Travis. So now going back to the question, that would it surprise me if Travis showed up in July and said that he didn't have that fire? Yes, it would definitely surprise me because Travis clearly has the fire. So reading Brian's comment about his compartmentalized hate. Oh dear, you all are crack ups. Let's see. I mean, it's a little early. I may have to go ahead and do last call because don't have any other questions in the pipeline that I see. I'll go back in circle and just make sure if I miss one. If anybody else has a question, feel free to fire away. I may have to start going back and talking about the Royals of the 70s and 80s. Those were the good old days. I mean, that was a fun team to watch growing up. I loved it. Still can't believe I didn't notice that was Travis. So I feel such an idiot. I mean, I did not recognize him. So, all right, give it a couple of more minutes. Anybody has any last call questions? Let's see. Pano, I found your question, but I don't know about that. I don't get it. I don't know about the hip hop Swift thing. Yeah, I'm confused. So I don't even know. I mean, I must have missed something. Once again, apparently I'm missing a lot right now. I need to get myself out to OTAs and stat on Thursday to, make up for my my lapses here. Let's see. All right. Oh, there we go. We got a couple of more questions firing in here. Chris, how's the linebacker room improved? I think it is. I mean, to the point that, I mean, I think there's a possibility that some guys who've been here for a while are going to have to work hard to earn their spot. And, and if that's, I mean, and I was kind of surprised. I mean, I guess I shouldn't because I think Swayze Bozeman, I think went over to Chicago. I mean, any team that's got a, Chiefs disciple, Brett Veach partner in crime, anything like that around the league is going to be interested in Chiefs players. So I guess that's not a huge surprise, but I think Jeff Boss is going to be a really impressive addition. I mean, he's a guy that I think could really surprise. I mean, as much as the Chiefs say that he's ready to play day one, and they're probably thinking more special teams and as a backup, but that's all that they need at that position right now. That group. I mean, you're traditionally going to play, at least the way the Chiefs play right now, you're going to have 2 linebackers on the field, only occasionally 3 linebackers on the field. Abasa, I think, can be in that rotation, some just specific packages and situations. I could see him really being an effective guy out there on third down, maybe with Nick Bolton being somebody that can just run around a little bit. I think you could blitz with him, in some of those third down packages and do some things. I mean, he's just another guy that if Steve Spagnuolo can get 11 guys I say 11 guys, but if you can get 7 guys along with your front 4 on the field and any 7 of them can blitz at any particular moment in time, I think you're in pretty good shape. And, I think the Leo Chenal, I think, is, I know like one of those lists that came out a couple of weeks ago was like, most underrated player on the team. I mean, Leo's, I think, absolutely in that ballpark. I mean, I think he's a really good player. I think he could absolutely break out this year. Drew, I thought Drew showed a little bit of signs of age last year, just maybe a half step slower, but he's still such a good, I think, efficient, effective player. I think he still can be productive, even if he has lost a little half step. I think there's so many things that he can still do. Backing up Nick and being somebody that can play the mic if you need him in a pinch makes him valuable. I mean, Cam Jones is still around. I like Cam. I mean, he still has not yet broken through himself. And so the presence of Bossa might make things a little bit more difficult for him. I tell you what, I was really impressed with Brandon George, the kid from Pittsburgh, undrafted free agent at rookie minicamp. Again, you don't learn a lot about linebackers at rookie minicamp, but he's a big dude. I mean, he's Leo sized, and that's why I'm interested in seeing a little bit more from him. I mean, that would be one of my undrafted free agents who could crack the 53. George could be one of those guys. So you throw that in, and you got Jack Cochran coming back. I mean, Cochran, could find himself in a battle, to stay on this 53. I mean, he's been obviously a really good special teams player for you. That's what these guys have to beat out. They have to beat him out as a special teams player. So, you've got, look at this roster right now. You got Nick, Tranquil, Leo, Bossa for sure, is likely your 4th. Who's your 5th? Cochran would probably be that guy right now. But, are you going to, the Chiefs have gone as deep as 6 before. I don't think that will be what they would likely do. I mean, I think you'd have to bank on 5 being the possibility. 4's always possible, but 5's more likely. So who's that, 5th? Probably Cochran. That would put, Cam Jones kind of on the other side of the bubble, Cole Christensen on the other side of the bubble, Brandon George, practice squad possibility. But I think it's going to be fairly competitive for, particularly that last spot. I mean, Bossa's got that 4th spot nailed down if he can play like the Chiefs expect. If he can be the contributor they expect him to be as far as a special teams player and a rotational piece. And that's why, I think obviously right there, if that's your top 4, I think that linebacker group is already better than it was a year ago. So we'll see. They got a lot to prove, but I think they've got it. The draft picks plus 2 undrafted free agents. Which 2 do you keep? Well, I already put myself down for Brandon George, I guess. He would definitely be one of the 2 that I would be targeting. Breeding-Stool would probably be the first and foremost. George wouldn't be my first. Breeding-Stool would be my first. So trying to looking at it real quick and seeing if there's some other undrafted. There's quite a few. That could compete. Elijah Badger could compete. I think the offensive linemen, just because of the numbers that the Chiefs may have already who are veterans, Dalton Cooper, I could absolutely maybe filter into that as a guy who honestly could play 4 positions. Dalton Cooper, I think, the Chiefs seem to think that he could be a guard as well as a tackle. So he's a big dude too, 6'7", 315. I think he could be in that conversation. Eddie Zaplicki, the punter, I keep saying, he's for real. He can compete. I still expect that Matt Araiza is going to win that job, but you want somebody to push Matt Araiza. Eddie Zaplicki's the guy. So Magdalena, I mentioned him earlier when we were talking about receivers from Fresno State. I mean, he could be really interesting. I think Jimmy Holiday was I'm trying to remember if he was one of the ones that earned a spot from the tryout, but he had a pretty good camp. I think he was one of the guys from the tryout that earned a spot. Keziah Izzard, the defensive tackle from Penn State, I think he could challenge a little bit. Esapole, offensive tackle from Washington State, he's also a big dude. He would be primarily a tackle. I mean, maybe he could filter in and be a four spot two if you think he could play guard. But my impression from the Chiefs is that he's more of a tackle candidate. But if either he or Cooper could, compete for a spot, I think it's going to have to depend on, because the Chiefs have a lot of veterans coming back on the offensive line, and I know they need some upgrades there, but they've also made some additions. So if I was going to be betting on undrafted free agents, I mean, Breedingstool will be one. George, I could probably talk myself into George being this, but again, I mean, he's got a kind of a tough road because he'd have to beat out Cochran for that fifth spot. But I think he's definitely in that conversation. So I could put him at the top of the list. Pohl and Cooper on the offensive line, definitely in the conversation. Izzard, the defensive tackle, is in that spot. I could probably be, if it's any of the receivers, I think it would be Delina would be the one that I think, and Badger too, but I think even those guys, I think are going to have a hard time, breaking into that wide receiver spot. Because again, I mean, she's got a lot of guys back and there's a lot of competition there. So Aaron, is the offensive game plan shifting more towards short passing RPO with the current wide receiver core? Interesting, because, the Chiefs have been, I mean, at least from the RPO part of it, have been kind of getting away from that and trending a bit, away from the RPOs a little bit more. Maybe they need to put them back in. And certainly with this receiver group, I mean, who's the one deep threat? I mean, I think you would certainly say is Xavier Worthy. I mean, Rashee Rice could he be a guy that you take shots at deep? Maybe, but he's not really what you think of as a deep ball receiver. I mean, he's more of a short passing game type guy. Hollywood would be more of the deep threat, him and Xavier. But with everybody else, I mean, and Jalen Royals too. I mean, Royals is more of a short passing, I feel like, target as well. So yeah, Aaron, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Chiefs went a little bit more RPO, and they probably have been more RPO than the metrics give them credit for, because there's probably a lot of plays that, Mahomes just automatically goes to throw that the tracking for metrics on what's an RPO and what's not probably is not perfect. And there may be some things that, that just get used as play action that really are true RPOs. But Chiefs have gotten away a little bit from RPOs in the last couple of years. Like I said, maybe they need to get back more to that. And if anything, probably the only problem with the RPOs is that that 90% of the time that Patrick's going to make it a pass and not a run. And if you're going to put more into the RPO game, then you need your quarterback and you need Patrick to lean on his running game a little bit more. That also means the run game needs to be more effective and the offensive line needs to be more effective. So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's a little bit of chicken and the egg. I mean, is it Patrick's fault? Is it the run game's fault? I mean, your quarterback, bless his heart, is always going to want to throw the football. So he's got to really see an opening to go for a run on an RPO and to give the ball away. Neo, do you see an end date upcoming for Coach Reid? I mean, he signed through 2030. I think he'll make it. I think he'll make it there for sure, at least. I really do. I mean, unless there's anything else pops up for any reason. Hey, we all, our health for all of us is question number one. As long as Andy's still healthy, I mean, I think he's going to continue to coach. I mean, I know that he's asked some of his colleagues about when they knew that it was time to go away, and and a lot of his coaches, I mean, will tell you, you'll just know. And Andy has not had that yet. I mean, despite the rumors off bad jokes and everything, I mean, Andy Reid has not given any thought whatsoever to retirement yet. He hasn't hit that spot. And the feedback that he gets, a lot of feedback that he's going to get and has gotten from his colleagues around the league, some who are still coaching, some who have walked away, you know, is why would you walk away when you've got Patrick Mahomes? I mean, this is the guy he's been waiting for his entire career. So, I mean, I feel there's a little bit of Andy that probably wants to, give the next coach a little bit of Mahomes left, so there's some, at least some continuity. And if Andy left in, 2030 when his contract is, currently extended through, I think that would take Andy to 70. It would take Patrick to like 33, 34. I mean, there should be a couple of more years of Patrick there for the next coach. I mean, there at least be some transition. So, um, I mean, that's at least, I don't, like I said, I'd be surprised if Andy Reid left before then. I don't think he's also going to stay super long. I mean, I know how much he's enjoyed being. You can see how much he's enjoyed being a grandfather. I think that's meant a lot to him, and and at some point he's going to decide that hey, he wants to kind of enjoy his golden years, and maybe just enjoy traveling a little bit, and maybe getting around and seeing his old friends and doing all that kind of stuff, and having some chili rellenos all year round rather than just in that 4 weeks between June and July. And I mean, I haven't seen any indication that he's ready to hang it up. I don't think he's going to retire anytime soon. I mean, I think he's still got a lot in him, and and I know he doesn't count Super Bowls or anything like that. Doesn't count that kind of stuff. He's not chasing Bill Belichick or anything, but I think that the people around Andy would like to see him stick around to get some of the records that he's earned a shot to go get. I mean, everybody working for and working around Andy Reid wants him to set every record in the book. I mean, they would love for him to catch Belichick and everything. And hey, he's got a chance. I mean, it's not impossible. There's still plenty of time to do it. Mitchell, if Kingsley doesn't work out at left guard, what is the next option? And please don't say Caliendo. I mean, Mike's not a bad player. I mean, he's I would say he's a replacement level type player. If Kingsley doesn't work out at left guard, I mean, I think your best left guard right now, I mean, outside of the possibility of Kingsley, just we saw one game with him, and he's obviously got a lot of talent. So who's the next best shot? I still think it's Hunter Norzad. I sounds like Norzad's, coming back a little bit stronger than he was a year ago. That's something that he needed to add to his game, a little bit of strength. Nick will tell you that he needed to improve his punch. He's got, the base skills, just needed a little bit more strength. So, hey, if the workout program can do that for him and give him a little bit more power, I think that just adds to it. So, I mean, just because we've only seen the one game from Kingsley at left guard, that's the only reason why I would say that I think there's a reasonable chance that Norzad's the best left guard on this team right now. Kingsley's going to get the first shot because of just, where he was selected and the commitment to him. Hey, does Norzad have to then significantly outplay him to earn that spot? Maybe. Does Kingsley need to flame out for Norzad to get that shot? Maybe. Andy, mentioned Caliendo and Kingsley competing for that job. And I think part of that mostly was, acknowledging who's the incumbent. I mean, we're going to say that because he finished the season at left guard when Tooney was at left tackle. But I'll be really surprised if Norzad doesn't get a shot to at least compete in that spot, because I think he's earned it, and I think he's on he's on caliber for that. So, Chris, any plans on going to the College World Series next month? I have never been to the College World Series. I hear it's absolutely incredible. That Omaha does a fantastic job hosting it and everything. I mean, if I was going to go to the College World Series, I mean, it sounds like it's a good enough event and fun enough that you should go regardless of who's playing. I mean, I will primarily want to go if Mizzou's there. And Mizzou right now is like light years away from playing in the College World Series. I mean, I suppose if Missouri State was in it, which they've been in the College World Series before, so not saying it couldn't happen. I think they went. Yeah, I think they went with Ryan Howard one year, if I'm not mistaken. I could be imagining that. Maybe it was a fever dream. But I would also love to go to the Women's College World Series down in Oklahoma. And once again, I should have gone when Mizzou was there, during the Chelsea Thomas era, but I missed out. So hopefully both those programs will at some point make the College World Series again. Oh, there you go. Gary Dieter talking about Brandon George. I don't hate that comparison whatsoever. Like the size wise and downhill playing, I could buy that comparison. You want to sit in the Brian? You want to sit in the press box with Mitch? I don't think I have that kind of power over time and space. I wish I did. Yeah, Joe, I wish I could tell you why nobody ended up drafting Brenningstool. I mean, it can be one of those things that, and Brett Veach will tell you this. I mean, that the Chiefs will sign guys as undrafted free agents that, that because they were hoping that they would be able to sign them. You got more options and flexibility with an undrafted free agent than with a draft pick. Oftentimes, Brett Veach's philosophy, and I think this, I have no evidence to this. I haven't had these conversations with anybody, but my guess is that the Chiefs drafted Rashard Smith because it was a player that they liked. They had a high grade on him. Really surprised he was in the 7th round, but I imagine that they also did it because they weren't 100% sure they could sign him as an undrafted free agent. That there may have been a team that they were concerned had an offer that they couldn't beat, and therefore that's why they drafted him. I mean, most teams will tell you they would rather have a guy go undrafted and sign him as a free agent than to take him in even the 6th or 7th round. So, like I said, I haven't heard a legitimate reason about why Brenningstool wasn't drafted, but it could certainly be that thing. Maybe the handful of teams that were interested in him just preferred to, let him go to free agency and hope to get him that way. And maybe they didn't think that the Chiefs would be interested and involved. Oh, thank you, Alan. Yeah, Andy would be 71. I was trying to remember if he was going to be 65 or 66 this year. So there you go. Do you see Pat playing at 40? Brady had 2 great runs with dry years in between. I could see Pat retiring to fatherhood early if the Chiefs fall off the cliff. I mean, that's kind of the conventional wisdom. I mean, I don't remember any specific conversation. I mean, it feels like I've read it or heard it that Patrick has talked about a little bit, that knowing that his dad pitched a little bit later into his career, and that he wants maybe to be able to spend more time with his kids. And I always mentioned this, that that he would like to be able to spend time with his kids when they're in high school and maybe they're playing high school sports and everything. So yeah, I mean, I guess, that would probably get him close to 40 as far as, when that would start to happen. Probably just depends. I mean, it's going to depend on a lot of factors. I mean, it'll depend, I think, on just how he deals with injuries over the rest of his career. I mean, injuries obviously can have a huge part in it. What the family is interested in, what every kind of thing fits in. I mean, I think that would be, a part of the piece of the puzzle too. No, I don't see Pat playing deep into his 40s or anything like that. I don't see him, playing as deep as Brady did. So I think he would walk away earlier than that. At the same time, I don't see him necessarily walking away early. I don't see Patrick, retiring at 35 or anything. I mean, unless it was injury related. So I feel like he's, I think Patrick would like to play at the top of his, game as long as he can. And honestly, I mean, as competitive as Patrick is, I mean, I think he wants to play, I mean, while he's still enjoying it and while he is still competitive. And I think at some point something's going to come along that he's going to find that he wants to compete in otherwise. I mean, if you told me that Patrick was going to retire from football and then, try and dominate business for 15 years and then, I mean, try and join the senior PGA at 50 or something, it wouldn't stun me at all. I mean, that guy's going to continue to compete the rest of his career. I mean, I don't, that's one thing I don't necessarily see Patrick walking away from football and then going into the broadcast booth. I mean, maybe he will, but I just don't know if that's enough competition for him. I mean, I think he'll want to do some other things that keep him active. And, I think he will want to continue to try to be athletic if he can. I think I know he really, really loves golf, and I can see him being one of those dudes. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Jimmy's gets the last question of the night. So is Minshew as a backup and then a race for the practice squad, or is there a job opportunity here? I mean, I think it's Minshew as the backup. And I think right now, obviously, between Bailey Zappi and Chris Oladokun, I mean, I think that's a pretty competitive position for that third quarterback spot, which I think would be a practice squad position. Always something possible that something could pop. I mean, once again, I mean, Bailey Zappi was on the practice squad last year and got an offer to compete for a starting job and left. Could still happen once again. Maybe a team would come calling for Bailey Zappi and want him. I would think that the Chiefs this time around would have been a little bit more of, we really want, if you're coming back, Bailey, we'd really like you to make a commitment here rather than just coming here and waiting until the next opportunity comes along. So I don't know that, but that's just my kind of impression. That, I mean, I think that the Chiefs would like to have some of that, commitment. I mean, they like Bailey. I mean, I mean, Chris Oladokun as a third quarterback, I mean, I think is just as valuable. I mean, I think he's just fine. I mean, he knows the offense. He's a smart kid. He's getting a little bit older, but he can do some things for you. He can, and Minshew, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Minshew is not a mobile type quarterback. So, one of the things that Oladokun has been able to do for the Chiefs as a mobile guy has been, to be your practice squad quarterback for, your Lamar Jacksons and those kind of things. And he's done a pretty good job of that. So, hey, you're not asking your third quarterback to start a game for you unless things go really, really off the rails. I mean, let's face it, most teams, if they get to the third quarterback, the season's gone off the rails. So what are you looking for in your third quarterback? Looking for a developmental guy? Sure. And Zappi's probably more of that than Oladokun is at this point. I've just always been high on Oladokun. I mean, I've seen how much he's worked, and I've liked what I've seen. I mean, there's still some things that I think he could obviously clean up, but I think there's just, I mean, he's obviously not Mahomes as far as the talent wise goes, but he is Mahomes as far as the competitiveness goes. I think he's probably, of all the quarterbacks that I've covered outside of Mahomes, he and Alex Smith are probably the two most competitive. I mean, the three of them are definitely the most competitive quarterbacks that I've seen in Kansas City. So that's one of the reasons why I like Chris so much. I mean, he's just a competitive dude. He's always working his butt off. So I like that. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's Minshew as the backup, and then those two fighting for the third. Could Zappi win out that job? Maybe, but I think the Chiefs really like the skill set that Gardner and the experience that he brings into that spot. That if they had to play for a few games without Patrick, that Minshew could run the offense without having to make dramatic changes. Which let's face it. I mean, even though they will say they haven't had to, they've had to before. When they've gone to Matt Moore's or Chad Henne's, even, Blaine Gabbert, I mean, they've had to change the offense a little bit. So that's, I said, I'm a big fat Chris Oladokun fan, but I can see either one of those guys making the practice squad, but I think it's Minshew's backup job. All right. Bonus question for Alan. Are you worried about the defensive tackle position group? Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, Alan, that's the one that outside of left tackle specifically, defensive tackle is the other position that I just don't know what the Chiefs have. You got Chris Jones. You got that. Who is going to be the starter next to him? I really don't know. Mike Pennell is the most experienced guy coming back. Mike's not going to play a ton of snaps. I mean, he's going to maybe start some games for you because, you're starting in a true 4-3 and maybe you're against some teams that you're expecting to run the ball early. So, Pennell's going to be your guy out there. Jerry Tillery's a rotational piece. He's not really a true starter. He's kind of maybe, and I say this, even though they're different style of players, I say it from a snap standpoint. He's kind of a Derek Nottie replacement in that, that's the number of snaps that I think he's going to give you. I don't think you're going to have him out there 40 snaps, but maybe more like 20 or 25. 15 to 20 has kind of been your Mike Pennell category. I know you're saying Omar Norman Lott. Well, no, Omar Norman Lott, I think most snaps he ever played in a college season was 235, 245 maybe. That was just the way that they played in Tennessee. Can he handle a bigger workload? I mean, I I kind of compare it a little bit to, pitch counts in baseball and innings counts in baseball. You're not going to have a guy that threw 35 innings last year all of a sudden give you 180. Snap counts aren't exactly the same, and it's not the same stress on a specific, not stress on the arm or anything of that nature where you're risking like a year-long injury because you're putting a guy out there. It's just your effectiveness, and you're bringing Omar Norman Lott in to be an effective pass rusher. And is he going to be an effective pass rusher if he's playing 600 snaps? Not right now, I don't think so. So, and you're obviously still projecting. You don't know what Omar Norman Lott's going to be out of the box. Is he ready to start at the NFL level in year one? I don't know. I mean, it's just he's just an unproven quantity at this point. That's the only thing. So, hey, is Marlon Tuipulotu with a full off season? Is he ready to, play some, maybe be a little bit more? Maybe. Did Fabian Lovett learn a lot last year? Maybe. It's just, by and large, you've got two veterans that you know a lot about. I mean, at least you've got a body of work to look at in Mike Pennell and Jerry Tillery that you know who they are and what they're going to be. I mean, they're not going to be any more than that. Those are effective pieces. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's something in the having guys like that. And I mean, obviously Pennell is a great glue guy too. He's just a great player to have on your team, period. No matter what kind of work he's giving you. So he's just one of those guys that's good to have on the team. And you know what? At Mike's age, I mean, there's no guarantee he's making the roster. I mean, it's every year is a year to year from guys like Mike at this stage in their career. But who's guaranteed to be that guy? And, what's the health going to be at that position when you've got, Pennell, who's been up there, Tillery has, had some injuries in the past, and Omar Norman Lott, can he handle the higher workload? Is Fabian Lovett ready to be a player yet? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of questions there. So just nobody's a known quantity. So we'll find out. Everybody, thanks for putting up with me and all my nonsense and my inability to recognize the back of Travis Kelce. Feel like that's probably like a good chunk of the show tonight. I should just edit out so that everybody else that watches and listens over the next couple of days doesn't realize I'm a complete and total idiot. Everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate it as always. If you liked what you heard, I know a lot of you right now already listening or here tonight, the live, already subscribers, so you're off the hook. But make sure you hit the bell for notifications so that you get notified whenever I finally get around to putting up the live chats, no matter how early or late it is. You are all the best. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words, Mitchell, Jimmy, Luttrell, Harold. Appreciate everybody. Have a great week. We will catch up with you this weekend on 41 is the mic. If you've got any questions before then, feel free to drop them here on YouTube. You can do it on the Facebook page as well. You can do it over on Twitter. Hit me up there. Fire away with your questions anytime. I'll try to answer them when I can. Everybody have a great week.